Good morning, second graders. This is Mrs. Vetrano, and we know that you've been learning so much about writing, and there's been so much information to practice. So today we just wanted to take a breath and think about everything that we've been talking about in writing and review how we write a story from start to finish. So I have a little checklist today that we're going to use to help us, and says second grade writers first plan across their hand, next plan across their book, then write their book. They write a lot of lines across 5 pages and make their characters talk, move, feel, and think. Then second graders go back and revise their book. They add more details. What did you see, hear, smell, taste, or feel? So that revising piece is adding a lot of details into your writing, making your writing come alive. So remembering that the reader of your book wasn't there with you. So you have to make your book like it's a movie and they can picture what's happening. And then last, while writers are publishing their books, they make sure to edit their book. And we edit as we write, but at the end we have to give it a really good final look. And editing is fixing punctuation, so things like question marks, periods, exclamation points, quotation marks, making sure we have uppercase letters at the start of sentences, and for proper nouns like names and specific places, names of restaurants, names of stores. And then we check our spelling. We've talked about a lot of ways that second grade writers can check their spelling, and one of them is to, with longer words, clap the syllables and then think about what chunks are in the syllable, what sound do you hear, and making sure each syllable has a vowel in it to help us get closer with our spelling. On Friday, we also watched the Try 3 Ways video to help us practice spelling words. So sometimes second graders get confused between revising and editing. So revising is adding more details, stretching out your writing to make it more interesting. Maybe even putting a comparison in your book. That's a craft move that we talked about that authors do. So this is adding to it. This is fixing it. Okay, so we're going to go through with the power of time-lapse videos today, and I'm going to show you this process. So our first step is to plan across our hand, but I wanted to show you this picture. This is a place called Black Rock. It's in Maui, Hawaii, and this is a place that my husband and I went to many years ago, and we went snorkeling. And the water is actually quite deep out here. I know it looks close to the shore, but it's actually quite deep. So we decided that we wanted to go snorkeling because I really wanted to see beautiful fish. And this place is known for having beautiful fish. So the kind of fish that you would see in Finding Nemo, Saving Dory. So clownfish, doryfish, all kinds of brightly colored fish that we can't see around here. So we went snorkeling, and I'm a pretty good swimmer. But as we were snorkeling, I was having a really hard time. The waves were really high. I was getting water into my snorkeling tube, and I was really actually quite scared. I felt like I was drowning, like I couldn't swim. So I told Mr. Vetrano I was going to go back to the beach and wait for him. And I just felt really disappointed because I was so excited for this trip, and it didn't go well. So then Mr. Vetrano came back just a few minutes later and said, yeah, you're right, it's really hard to swim. So we were hungry, so we went to the restaurant at the hotel, and we were watching TV, and across the bottom of the screen flashed a big red, they call it a ticker. It's a little bar that scrolls across the bottom of the TV while you're watching a show, and it said breaking news, 4.2 magnitude earthquake hit under the ocean floor. So we look at each other and we're like, oh my goodness, this is why we felt like we couldn't swim and why the waves were so bad, because we were actually snorkeling in an earthquake. So then I felt relief that it wasn't me, it was the earthquake that made it hard to swim. So as I plan across my hand, knowing that story in my head, I have 5 fingers, so I want to plan out my 5 pages. So first, we walk to the snorkeling place at Black Rock and rent our snorkeling gear. Then we're snorkeling and it's huge waves. We're in the middle of big waves. So I head back to the beach and we watch TV and see that an earthquake had hit. So then at the end we feel relief. Okay, so snorkeling, big waves, back to the beach, earthquake, relief. Okay, so I have it in my head. So now I can go back and I'm going to plan it and write it across the top of my book. Okay, second graders, now that I planned my book across my hands, I'm ready to just write keywords on the top of each page to plan across each page. So the title of my book is The Unexpected Adventure, and I have my name and the date on it. Okay, so I wrote just keywords across the top to help me remember. These are the same words that I talked about when I planned across my hand. So the first page will be snorkeling. The next page will be about the big waves. After that, I'll write about how I went back to the beach. Next, I'll talk about how we learned it was an earthquake on the news. And the final page will be about the relief that I felt when I learned it was an earthquake and not my swimming skills. Okay, second graders, so I did write my book, and so I wrote a lot of lines across a lot of pages. So let me go back to my checklist. I planned across my hand, then I planned across the top of the book, and now I just wrote my book. So I wrote a lot of lines across 5 pages, and I made my character talk, move, feel, and think. So now it's time to get into the revising of my book. So let's take a look at my first page. So now I'm ready to start the revising process. So let me read you my first page. And what I'm going to be looking for as I go through is, did I make my characters talk, move, feel, and think? And if I did, I'm just going to mark that thinking in that spot. And then I'm going to show you how I go about to revise. So my first page was labeled as snorkeling. Yippee, I can't wait to go snorkeling, I said. We walked to Black Rock. It was known for having some of the best snorkeling in all of Hawaii. We rented our snorkeling gear. We waded out to Black Rock. I thought to myself, this is going to be the best day ever. I feel excited. I'm going to edit right there. It looks like I missed an ending punctuation mark. So I want to think about that editing piece as I go, but at the end I'm going to do a really big read through. So here I did talking when I said, yippee, I can't wait to go snorkeling. I had some movement. We walked to Black Rock and we waded out to Black Rock. So there's some thinking right there. Move, I should say, not thinking, moving. I thought to myself, this is going to be the best day ever. So I have some thinking. I felt excited. So I have some feelings. So I was able to get all 4 of those things on a page. Sometimes we can't get all 4, but we want to try and get some of that on each page. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty okay about this, but I feel like you can't really picture just how, beautiful the snorkeling place was. So I took some Post-it notes and I thought about that revising piece. Add more details. What did you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel? Taste isn't going to be the biggest part of my story. We did go eat at the restaurant, but that isn't really what my story is about. My story is really about the problem I was having snorkeling. Smell, I suppose I could have smelled like salt water, probably even tasted it as it was going into my snorkel. But the see, hear, and what I felt were definitely the details that I think are the most important in my book. So I had gone through and written some Post-it notes just to go through it in my head like it was a movie. So what did I see? I saw a lot of eager, that means excited, vacationers putting their heads in the water. So we weren't the only ones out there snorkeling. So others ended up experiencing that earthquake with us. When we looked at that Black Rock, it was a hot day and there was steam that was coming off of it. You could see it when we were up close there. Kind of like when you're driving in a car and you look ahead and you can sometimes see steam on a hot summer day. It almost looks like it's coming off of a puddle. So that might be more details to help my reader picture. I could say when I look at what I heard, we heard the waves hitting against the black rock. So they were slapping against the rock. So you've probably heard that if you've been to a lake where you can hear that slap. When we were snorkeling, we could also hear giggling kids on the beach, so I could talk about that. And there were birds. There were seagulls up ahead, probably looking for fish, so we could hear them squawking. So that could be some details I hear that I put in. Then when I compare, I could say the waves, how I felt. The waves felt stronger than usual. I felt like I was being tossed around. I said like a pool toy or like seaweed. So I can think about that a little bit. So I'm comparing how I felt to a little pool toy being launched around. Okay, so I'm going to add my details in what I decided to change on this page, and then I'll show that to you. So I revised my piece, and you can see it doesn't look the neatest anymore. I have a lot of what we call carrots because I added some words in. If there's something that I want to cross out, I just put one line through it. I don't erase it because I want my teacher to be able to see what I wrote so that teachers can see your thinking. So this is what it says now. Yippee! I can't wait to go snorkeling, I shouted. I changed from said because I was shouting it with an exclamation point. While we were on the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii, we strolled. I changed that from walked. It just sounded better. We strolled to a place called Black Rock. It was known for having some of the, I changed best to most beautiful, snorkeling in all of Hawaii. We rented our snorkeling gear. We slowly, because when you wade in water, you can't really go fast. So we slowly waded into the turquoise Pacific Ocean and leisurely swam out to Black Rock. I could hear seagulls squawking up above and children on the beach giggling. Steam was rising off of the rock from the summer heat. I thought to myself, this is going to be the best day ever. I felt excited. Okay, so I went in, this was the revising piece, and added some more details to try to make it more interesting and to make it easier for you to visualize what I actually saw. So then the last part is going to be, once I have all of my pages revised, to go back in and edit my book. I'm going to look for punctuation, uppercase letters, and spelling. So when I'm done with that, I will check that off. So that is our writing process in second grade, so make sure that you're working on that this week.